What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Shee, and I'm here with my co-host, Dave Martinson. Dave! Man, we're 1 week away from the Battle of the Bastards, Avengers Endgame.
Battle of Bastards Part 2?
Yeah, that's what I'm calling it, because those White Walkers are bastards, bro. Straight up.
Fair enough.
Now, what's this one? The Battle of Winterfell? I guess
That's what they're calling it. Miguel Sapochnik back again. Exciting.
Yeah. Very exciting. A lot of people going to die. We're going to be talking Game of Thrones here in a second. Before we get too far into it, since you're listening to Nowstalgia Pod, hopefully you're enjoying the content we bring you today. Give us that subscription. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube or go to soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod to listen to our podcast any way that you enjoy it. And share us with friends. We love interacting with new people and hearing all your feedback. So hit us up on Twitter at NostalgiaPod and let us know what you think. All right, Game of Thrones, episode 2, episode 69 of the series. Dave, what'd you think?
Wait, is it actually episode 69? Is that right?
Yeah, that's why Arya got freaky last night, bro.
Yeah. Well, this is our 169th podcast episode. Talk about that symmetry. Very nice.
Hey.
I thought it was a great episode. I thought this was classic Thrones once again. I loved it. That was another banger. Season 8, 2 for 2 so far. What about you? What'd you think?
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like the show, it's easy to get caught up, especially since no one really knows where we're going. We're obviously past the books at this point. It's easy to get caught up in theories. How is it going to end? What's going to happen? And these first 2 episodes, in a lot of ways, I feel like could have almost been just like 1 hour and a half long movie put together in a lot of senses, because they felt very connected in terms of setting the table. But this one, what I really liked was it really brought you down to what makes the show so good. And it's that you have all these really unique and varying secondary and tertiary characters that people have grown to love. Now, obviously, with Battle of Bastards Part 2 / Battle of Winterfell, it's that most of them probably won't see episode 4. So this is, a table setting one, giving a lot of fan service to these characters and some really great moments. We'll talk about those in a second. But I found myself feeling very just kind of like, I want more stuff to be happening. I want to just get going. We only have 6 episodes this season. More stuff has to happen. But then upon reflection, I was like, you know what? This actually really was, I think, a very well done episode, because you need this groundedness to really drive the emotional things of the series home. But yeah, just to kind of pick it back up, I really think, and I think the criticism I saw from people was that, not a lot happened in this episode. There's only 6 episodes this season. We gotta be moving more. And I really think this episode was important because it brought a little bit of balance to the human aspect of it, along with this obviously epic journey that we're coming to conclusion on. I mentioned that there were a lot of great moments last night. Which ones stood out for you, and which ones did you maybe not like so much?
Once again, like the first episode, and they definitely feel as one, but I thought most of the scenes they all had an intention, a purpose for being there. And like you said, it's not like the plot moves that much, but I really like this episode because the human moments, as you said, these conversations, people talking in rooms, that largely makes up some of the best of Game of Thrones there ever has been. Like, obviously, we talk about all the big events, the viral moments, stuff like that, like the Red Wedding. But where Thrones really shines, is when Tyrion and Bronn are chopping it up, stuff like that, right? And to have that fireplace scene in this episode, where they're just kind of just having this last night together. And on one hand, you get like a bit of closure on Tormund and Brienne. Brienne actually gets knighted by Jaime, which I thought was like a really warm, sincere moment and gesture. Tyrion in the cup once again. Pod singing a song, surprisingly. I really liked everything about that episode. And then, I mean, obviously everyone's really talking about Arya getting the spear twice from Gendry.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Which I also was a fan of. But yeah, no, I like these moments because if you think about the plot, like everyone's like, how can we end this? And there's about 4 episodes, like 5 hours left. I mean, there's not a whole lot left to be had in terms of plot. They're going to fight. A lot of people are going to die very soon, right? So the fact that we get this one last moment of like everyone together, and again for the first time a lot of times, and these human moments, it's really where the writing gets to shine. I'm really happy that we got this because season 7 we didn't really have a lot of that. Season 7 did a lot of plot moving to get us to this point. Now that we're in the end game, literally, it was nice. You know, especially if you've been watching the show for such a long time over the years. It's like I was very happy with it for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And one of my other favorite running parts of it was just how often people were saying things and talking about things that are just never going to come to fruition and are just like ensuring their death.
Like Grey Worm.
Yo. Later, bro. Never gonna see you past like minute 20 of the next episode. Everybody in the crypts. I mean, not everybody's gonna die, but there's no way those crypts are that safe.
They mentioned it too many times.
Too many times. First time I was like, makes sense. Second and third time I was like, oh, they're done. Like those, Ned Stark reanimated, headless, gonna be popping up. I don't know. Yeah. Probably not him, but
well, that's the thing. I mean, I feel like I'm leaning towards the Night King does raise the dead in the crypts just because they've referenced the crypts so explicitly and they've spent some time down there, John specifically, but they're not going to look like Zombie Ned, Zombie Leon, just a bunch of skeletons, right? So you're going to have to like see them rise up out of their tombs specifically. And I guess Ned's doesn't have a head. I guess that helps him stand out a little bit, but they've mentioned it so much it has to happen in some regard, I guess. Something down there. Yeah, there's a lot of theories about that, but we'll see.
Littlefinger wasn't buried down there, right? I'm trying to like think who could.
It's a good question. They only buried Starks down there.
Yeah,
so he's probably buried somewhere around, though. He died there. But yeah, good question. Or they could have burned him.
John. That's probably more likely. I'm just trying to think because my guess is that in the trailers we see Arya running away from something, obviously very fearful. People assume it probably is related to this battle and seeing a reanimated somebody. It must be maybe someone, maybe like Gendry dies and is reanimated, something like that, where she feels like she can't kill him then. I don't know, but I was thinking at first might be Ned, but I don't know if that makes total sense. Why don't we go through quick? Who's safe next week? Like, who for sure is not dying? Jon?
Dany? Jon, Dany. Sansa,
Bran.
I'd say Bran and Sam. I'd say Bran. I don't think Bran is going to go out this early. Like somebody saying the Night King could die in this episode, and I mean maybe they really truly vanquish the White Walkers the first half of the season. They just go on with Cersei. Feels a little quick. So I think Bran and the Night King have more to come. But honestly, any other supporting player. I think Jaime's pretty safe just because I feel like Jaime's going to have to kill Cersei or be involved in that somehow, right? So whether Jaime almost gets killed and by extension that gets Brienne killed or Pod killed, something like that. But yeah, all the supporting players, I don't think any of them are safe. I don't think all of them will die. The Hound probably lives considering we think the Clegane Bowl will happen, but gone, Grey Worm gone, Tormund probably gone. Jorah, he just got Heartsbane from Sam, the Tarly sword. Time to die. Yeah. Theon.
Jorah's done, son.
Yep. All right, cool. Theon's, we got it. We see it happening.
Theon sacrificing himself. That's his redemption arc. I'm interested. Arya seems like one who could be a big name killed off. Jaime, with the whole Cersei thing, it feels like he has to still be involved unless the Valonqar prophecy is, I guess, referencing
Tyrion.
Tyrion being the little brother that kills.
That's what Cersei always thought it would be, but
maybe she's right.
Still technically the little brother, also. So,
I don't know. Sad. Lady Mormont definitely gone at this point. She's like,
that's the thing. There's a lot of these other tertiary characters like Lyanna Mormont, Davos, Varys, or Royce, the head of the Dothraki guy, like Missandei, Gilly. I feel like not all of them will kick it either. A lot of them won't be in the fight. But Tyrion, I think Tyrion's safe. It's tough though. You can, again, like we talked about in the theories episode, you can talk yourself into almost anything, which is kind of part of the fun.
Definitely. Ghost, is he safe? He's back apparently.
So honestly, I saw that. Oh, there's Ghost. Cool. He's not moving that much. Just moves his head. Save on that animation. Nice.
Yeah, I was so excited to see him, and then also like kind of bummed that it was like very just like fan service. They just basically put him in a shot, and we're like, okay, there you go, enjoy that.
It's just funny because like he's never been like referenced, so it's like he's never left. He's always been there. He's just always been out of frame. That's what we're supposed to think. You know,
he never growls, never nothing. Nope. Best direwolf in the land. Two more things. First, how stupid is this plan to lure the Night King with Bran?
Yeah, I mean, when they were saying, I'm like, I don't have another idea because they know brute force ain't going to do it. And even if you try with the dragons, they got a lot of ice javelins by the look of it. So it's a big risk. So
big risk.
They gotta try that, and as Bran said, that's their way to lure him. And again, we don't really know why. We don't really know what the connection is. It could be really simple, the way Bran explained it. But yeah, honestly, it kind of makes sense to try and get the Night King to get close. But because you can't just try and get through the army, he'll be in the back. So honestly, it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, I just think it. I don't know, especially like guarding him with Theon. Like, I don't know, man. Theon, you gotta put a better bodyguard out there.
Ironborn with you, son.
And last thing, John finally shares that he's Aegon Targaryen. And Dany, her first thought is, oh damn, not that I'm fucking my nephew, but that, oh, you might take away the Iron Throne.
She's driven, dog. She knows her goals. Detail oriented, goal oriented.
She's on that Mad Queen route, it seems like, at this point.
And again, like, people are like, oh, nothing happened. But again, we got Sansa and Dany once again actually coming really to a head and butting heads about their differing views of how everything should happen should they all live. And now Dany understands that Jon has a legitimate claim, perhaps a stronger claim than she does, and thus is a challenger. We got that in this episode. So again, Dany and Jon having that on their mind right as it's time to fight, not the best. Would Dany let Jon die in an episode or two? I don't know. Could be on her mind though. Who knows?
I wouldn't put it past her.
I wanted to ask you though about the,
I could talk about Game of Thrones. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to ask you about the Arya Gendry thing one last time, just because there were some people that were maybe not even having negative reaction, but having a startled reaction or surprised reaction, because I guess because we've seen Maisie Williams first met her when she was like 10 and or around that age, and she clearly was a child, and now she's not. I think she's like 21, 20 as an actress, and Arya in the show is 18. I don't know. Like, I thought it was like a really tender, like legitimate hookup, you know, consensual. Like, we had Grey Worm Missandei and Gillian Sam. I mean, I don't know. No one was offended when 15-year-old Tommen got it on with Marjorie. Like,
right. Yeah, there's a bit of a double standard. I didn't really have a problem with it, especially knowing Maisie Williams 22 and Arya I know was like 17, 18. But I would never call it tender, because she was like, yo, remember when you were with the Red Lady? What was up with that? You hook up with anyone else? Like, she was really putting the screws to him. And that was just like, yo, take your own pants off. I'm not gonna woo you here. Like, she was not tender at all. I think she took him for a ride.
Good. She deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for her, too. She's like, I'm not hanging out with these miserable old men outside. I'm going to go get it in with this young Baratheon stud.
That dragonglass spear.
Yeah, but as I was saying before, I could talk about the Game of Thrones forever. Just awesome show. A show I don't think I can talk about nearly as long. Hannah on Amazon. And we already talked about it once. Episode 1 premiered after the Super Bowl. We were cautiously optimistic about it. Thought it was a pretty good episode. We're doing a full season review, so if you haven't finished Hannah, maybe you want to go back and finish it. I don't know if it really matters. What were your thoughts on season 1 as a whole?
Yeah, and just to recap our pilot talk real quick, I thought it was a really effective pilot because it condenses the plot and then in turn separates Hannah from Joel Kinnaman right away. And it's like it sets up the series, the final 7 episodes, in a good spot. It didn't spin its wheels too much in the pilot. Unfortunately, the rest of the season did a lot of wheel spinning because I know that this story was just padded on and that there was not enough plot to justify even 8 episodes. So I was underwhelmed significantly by the whole season, and really what stood out to me was just that I was never really surprised by anything, nor was anything I was seeing new. I've seen all this done before in some fashion, so it's not that it was bad. It's just it didn't really tick off any boxes I wanted. What about you?
Oh, I mean, just from my preview, I think you probably know I didn't love the season. I thought it was okay. There were some really good action sequences and some interesting teenager exploration of self type stuff that I found interesting. But the rest of the time, especially the stuff with, I believe her name was Marissa, played by Marielle Enos, seeing her family and that sort of stuff, I just didn't find that interesting at all. And I think it was kind of cool at points to see Kinnaman's character and Enos's character putting themselves in these mind games, but then it just started to feel super repetitive and there wasn't actually any progress in terms of plot or where the show was going. It just was gotcha, oh no, I got you, and that was the back and forth. Meanwhile, you have Hannah just kind of coming in and out of there back and forth and exploring who she is the whole time. It just felt, I don't know, but Hannah season 2 is going to be coming to us. It was just re-upped, so people must have liked this.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think what do you do for season 2? Because Kinnaman's dead, and again, perhaps his role in a story about Hannah shouldn't last for seasons on end. I get it, but I'm just trying to think what are they going to do in terms of returning characters. I mean, the whole detour Hannah she goes on with the family, which is adapted from the movie the show is based on, of course, but going back to that, and as you mentioned, I thought there were some cool ideas about her learning lots of social interactions and realizing what it's like to be a teenager in real time, right? Some cool ideas there, but they only just touch on it before they have to get to the next action set piece.
Yep.
So I just feel like it just went down the middle, never committed, because there's also not that much action. So if you're really into the cat and mouse thriller aspect of it, that also comes and goes. So it just ultimately it's like Black Widow, Red Sparrow mixed with really toned down sex education. It's just a whole mix of things you've seen before, but not executed on well enough. So yeah, I'm not anticipating season 2, and I also was like, wait a minute, there's a Billie Eilish song in this? This show wasn't good enough to get a Billie drop. Come on.
Yeah, no, that caught me off guard a little bit too, but didn't hate it necessarily. Yeah, it's interesting. So I think this show was just more weighed down by, like you said, there wasn't enough here for 8 episodes. 4 or 5, I feel like we could have done a pretty effective short series. But yeah, I don't know. Season 2, not looking forward to it either. Something we both were definitely looking forward to, though. Lizzo, 'Cause I Love You. So Lizzo been blowing up this year. She dropped Juice, I believe, back in January, and it's been a huge pop hit throughout the year, getting a lot of buzz on different review sites, Pitchfork, NPR, places like that. And Lizzo has been around for a couple of years. 2015 was kind of her breakthrough with Lizzo bangers, and My Skin Off That in particular was a hit. And then 2016, she dropped Coconut Oil, which is an EP that had Good as Hell on it. Dropped a couple other singles like Truth Hurts, Boys. So she's had a couple hits here and there. So this was her first real album, pretty anticipated. What did you think of the pop soul Aretha Franklin that is Lizzo?
Yeah, I really liked it. I had actually never heard her past work. Didn't really realize how big she was, especially on the internet, until you had actually sent me the Juice single a few months ago. I was like, wait, who is this person? You actually put me on for once about a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. I think this album is really awesome. It's only like 33 minutes long, yet it's like sounds awesome. Most of the songs are bangers, and also it's a really good message about like body positivity and self acceptance. And if you're familiar with Lizzo, that's something she's been doing for quite some time and got a lot of positive buzz for. But I think it's really coming to a head on this album where she really shines as just a really charismatic person who also has a decent message, but also has some straight up bops.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan.
Yeah, she's powerful in so many different ways. She's powerful just in terms of her vocal performance, I think, on a lot of these songs. I mean, Juice is just like a feel good, like bubblegum pop, but something like Because I Love You or Because I Love You, Tempo, I think she has a really good cadence on that. There's a couple of other songs where she really lets it loose. Jerome, I think near the end, she really starts to fall out vocally wise, but she just comes through as powerful in terms of her, like you said, her message and also her style in this. It's very upbeat, fun. She obviously is trying to be this. I think this pop artist that is taking her music in a different direction compared to a lot of other pop artists in terms of content, but also sound. It's very almost like 80s infused, but with like some 70s groove and funk in it. It's very infectious, I think is probably the word.
Well, it's funny, if you go to Wikipedia for the album, it says genre, it lists pop, funk, rock, hip hop, and R&B. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's that much rock on here, but still, I mean, it is correct that it jumps a lot of genres, and you hinted at it, but I think sometimes her vocals are a little up and down depending on the production choices. And it's kind of funny, the ex-ambassadors of Sucker for Pain fame have background vocals on 3 of these tracks randomly. They're not even label meets or anything, so that was a choice for sure. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think generally she kind of gets across what she wants to do, despite jumping around a lot of different ideas and stuff. So shout out Atlantic for actually signing her, because past few years, body positivity doesn't necessarily scream Billboard charts. Yet Atlantic, which is the most chart focused of all the labels, still went with her. So good for them.
Yeah, and just one more song I wanted to shout out. Lingerie might be like the sexiest song I think I've listened to all year. And she really leans into her sexuality too, whether it's in her songs or her music videos. And I give her a lot of credit for that, especially being somebody who is not traditionally beautiful in terms of cultural standards today. So shout out Lizzo for a very solid album. We'll be putting one of her songs on our playlist, Nowstalgia Best of 2019, which a little bit behind on, but will be updated by the time you're listening to this. We're also going to be putting a couple songs maybe by Pivot Gang off their new album, You Can't Sit With Us, their debut album, You Can't Sit With Us. Dave, give me a little background on Pivot Gang.
Yeah, it's funny. I never really dove too much into most of the members. The most famous member of Pivot Gang, of course, is Saba. We reviewed his excellent album, Care For Me. It came out last year. You know him as a Chance collaborator. He's featured on Angels, for example. Chicago artists, of course. We review lots of them, and there's some more on this. Of course, Mick Jenkins and Smino, artists we talked about, pop up on this album. But the whole Pivot Gang is really just this clique that Saba's been running with, and he founded it with his brother and his cousin, as well as some other guys. His cousin has since passed. He's referenced on this project. But this is really their first major real effort as a group. I think they have one mixtape that came out like way back, like 2013 or something. So before Saba even himself was that well known. So this is their first, real look at anything. And I think this is a really, really good effort, 40 something minutes, but I really liked it a lot. What did you think? Cause I mean, we know Saba, but it's not uncommon for rap cliques and crews to have weak points amongst the ranks when you have a really famous frontman, for example. But what did you think? Because not knowing the rest of the guys.
I thought this was an incredibly successful debut album for a group that I had never heard of and didn't even know was coming around. There's an obvious Chicago influence in terms of like the music that they're rapping over, but more than anything, what stands out is just how well they work together as a group. They trade bars, they flow in and out of each other's verses so succinctly and effortlessly that it didn't feel like this was their first album. They felt very seasoned. I think that speaks to, obviously, that they've had relationships for a long time. Outside of Saba and his brosif, Joseph Chillams. But the other two other members of the band are brothers themselves, Fresh Waters and Squeak Pivot. It seems like these people just like to work together and like to make music together. It's interesting because Saba did make such a good album that we reviewed, Care For Me, but it almost feels like he's like destined to be the leader of this group. In a way, he almost is better on this, I felt like, than he is on the other one, which I think speaks just to how solid this album is with Care For Me being such a strong effort itself. Were you familiar with the other rappers in this group prior to this?
No, I mean, as far as I know, they don't have too much solo work. I know Saba was part of his Pivot gang. His Twitter handle at Saba Pivot. Like, I knew he had his own clique. There's more cliques in Chicago than just Save Money. Like, I knew he had this, but hadn't listened to that other tape. And I mean, I hadn't even listened to really Saba's solo work until that project that came up before Care For Me, Bucket List Project, I think it's called. But yeah, no, I didn't even know much about the group in terms of like you hear the guys that are on Saba or Mick or Smino or someone I know. I'm like, this is one of them. I don't know who it is still, but want to learn more about them. But yeah, I think despite not being familiar with everyone on the mic, as you said, because it flows so well and they have such great chemistry, it doesn't take much to enjoy this.
Yeah, and one of the songs that I think really got me into it was the second song on the album, Colbert, which I just thought was an obvious standout from this. Just their flow was amazing on it. It was a really fun song to listen to. Immediately, I thought this one's going on the playlist for me.
Yeah, my favorite song, it's funny, my favorite part of the album is Mick Jenkins' verse in No Vest. I think No Vest is such a banger, but Mick Jenkins has this amazing NBA reference where he's like, people think they're Curry, people think they're Ron Artest. They shoot like Deion Waiters. It's a mess. Obviously, I changed it. There's some words in there, but yeah, I laughed out loud and I ran that song back a few times because like that's smart. That's well done. But I think what's cool about this album is there's a lot of the jazz rap sound that we know come to expect from Saba and Chicago artists in general, but there's also some aggression, there's also some bars on here. This isn't coming from Mick, but other songs. So I think there's a lot to like and parse through on this, and I'm excited to kind of go back because like there's a Smino hook on here, and that's Smino kind of getting outside of his comfort zone. I think a little bit, kind of chippy on that, but yeah, overall I liked it, and I think there's some strong songs towards the end too. Maybe I'm checking out Studio Ground Rules, that lead single, really lyrical, referencing their dead cousin. Then you have like Mathematics or Jason Statham Part 2. I think there's some really cool songs on here, so big fan for sure.
Yeah, check out Pivot Gang. You can sit with us. Highly recommend. I want to talk quickly because we're going to get to XXL here in a second. I want to talk quickly about your guy Drake. You've been a Drake stan since we started the podcast. I'm
not a stan of anyone. Don't call me a stan. It's a negative connotation around here. Unless you're watching our videos. BTS stans, Robert Pattinson stans, we're stans of you.
I've come around on Drake. More Life, I think, was a turning point for me just in terms of giving him credit for trying something else. Trying something new.
Is what you're saying?
Nah, I mean, I think overall with Drake, I've come to enjoy more of his music. I still find his softness, and I go back and forth on the softness because I know you'd say, well, you're a Vampire Weekend fan. Yeah, they're a band that's made to be soft. They don't pretend to be anything but soft. If I know I'm gonna eat some oatmeal, I'll eat that oatmeal happily. If I think I'm biting into an apple and it tastes like oatmeal, that's where I'm not enjoying it. And Drake is like biting into a mushy apple sometimes, and that's why I don't like him. This is my metaphor for the day. But he recently has been caught up in a bit of a controversy about being a culture vulture. Mm-hmm. By the who's been calling him this, Dave? And what exactly is a culture vulture?
Well, he's been called a culture vulture for some time. That's just kind of a general term for people that, especially comes up in hip hop a lot, where usually thrown at white people that like enter the fold, like Black Bear. You could call Black Bear culture vulture because he has a rock background and started becoming a white rapper of sorts because he saw the money and the success was easy to get, and because you're a white guy, you're already on second base when it comes to this sort of thing, and now he's more successful than he ever was with rock. But Drake gets thrown at the label a lot because he will take from younger artists, you could say, or take other genres and incorporate them into his own work, but the overlying, the consistent theme would be that he's only benefiting himself. He's not actually supporting these younger artists or propping up these lesser known genres or something. That's the charge. It's come up a lot. But I think a lot of times it's used pretty unfairly. I think if you want to say that Drake has taken advantage of certain situations and perhaps not helped out smaller artists as much as he could, I guess you could say that. But at the end of the day, when Drake co-signs you or remixes your song, he's making you way more famous. Way more people are listening to your song as a result. Now, whether you make enough music, good enough music that people come back, and then you're actually known for more than just the time Drake was on the song with you, I think that's kind of on the artist. You could think of McConan, right, with Tuesday, remix with Drake, big song. He even signs McConan to OVO, yet McConan really fizzles out, and people are like, oh, well, Drake just, chewed up and spit out McConan, and now he's off the label, never to be heard from again. And yeah, he's heard from now, but that's kind of the genesis, or Party Next Door. A really lame milquetoast R&B artist whenever he makes music, in my opinion, yet he did make a reference track for Work, the Rihanna Drake song, and apparently he writes for Drake, and there's the charges of the OVO boot camp. Majid Jordan's talked about that a little bit, where there's people just write and get the writing for Drake. And he's always crediting people, like the whole thing with Quentin Miller making reference tracks. Quentin Miller was credited on the songs that Meek initially blew up about, right? But I think that's like one part of it, Drake taking from other people. I think actually really the first moment of this was way back in Take Care. You remember Crew Love featuring The Weeknd on Take Care. Pretty solid song. They performed it live since then, but that was actually a Weeknd song that Drake just kind of took and used. And there was initial friction. The result of that, once Weeknd got bigger, they've since reconciled. But that's like part of it. And the other part, which I think you're probably even more familiar with, is when Drake went through his Afrobeat dancehall phase. We remember, when he made Hotline Bling, not crediting Dram for Cha Cha, which basically laid the blueprint for that, right? Or Afrobeat. Yes, you featured Wizkid on One Dance, but all the people that were working hard to reestablish that genre didn't really get the benefit from that, did they? And One Dance is one of the best Drake hits and great song. Along those lines, like You Love Passion Fruit off More Life, arguably one of, if not the best song on that playlist, that album. But we remember Drake using that Caribbean patois, right? Fake Jamaican accent. I don't really know if there's a reason for that. Some people don't have a problem with it. Some people do. I don't know.
So you're saying stealing even a cadence or using a way of speaking or talking accent can be culture vulturing as well.
Well, I think for Drake, it's kind of all mixed in together. Because again, this reason this came up, the reason we're talking about it is because Wiley, one of the long-standing grime OGs over in the UK, called Drake a culture vulture when he popped up at Lasky's show. Lasky's this up-and-coming UK artist, and Drake, as we know, has always shown love for UK artists, starting with More Life. There's 2 artists, starting with More Life. There's 2 Gigs features. There's a Skepta feature on there. He's popped up at Skepta shows. His Instagram of Party Here by Octavian really gave Octavian a nice big boost. And I think Drake, people are like, oh, he's a culture vulture. He's always popping in on the young hot artist to take what he wants. And look alive with Block Boy JB. Drake just takes Block Boy's flow and uses the beat and we're having a Block Boy. It's like, well, Block Boy JB got really fucking famous because of Drake, right? That song was number 3. We haven't heard any good Block Boy songs since then. That's not Drake's fault, is it? As for grime and UK trap, Drake has legitimately made those genres bigger in the West. A guy like Alosky, who he pops up at the show a month ago or whatever it was, is getting 0 Western attention, is not on any Western music sites, not getting talked about even on the internet really at all over here. Drake is doing him a solid by showing love, and according to Drake says it's all genuine. So I think to call him a culture vulture, I think you have to call out to certain instances, like a lot of the stuff that he used to do with his label, whether it still runs that way, that was shady. But just because he's showing love to some young artist, just showing up at the show, it's not like he did the remix, But on the other hand, like Versace remix was the true coming out party for Migos. Yes, Migos probably gets really famous without Drake, but he still helped them and sped it up. So I think it's just people kind of hating, to be honest. There's things you can critique Drake of legitimately, but just to call him a culture vulture and just say it, be done with it, I think you're just losing all the nuance in the context, in my opinion.
Why do you think Drake specifically finds himself in these sort of feuds or conflicts so frequently? Because I feel like it's always Drake. Like it's never Future who's getting this, or Pusha T. It's Pusha T with Drake, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. I think part of it's just the way he moves, right? Like he's on social media, he's out in public, he's a celebrity, he's a mega star, right?
He's really involved in the culture.
And he's so famous that people pay attention to everything he does, so he really can't help it, honestly. But like his sports team curse, right? Like something that's really hilarious and doesn't seem to end. Like I feel like people just kind of throw that in. It's like, oh, Drake has this bad juju, man. He kills all the sports teams he roots for. He chews up all these young artists. That's who Drake is, man. You gotta be careful with Drake.
They ain't wrong. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think he's a little bit more of a cultural than I think you do, only because I think he does tend to, at least from the definition you're giving, he does tend to incorporate flows and ways of talking, speech patterns, I think, into his music that aren't necessarily original all the time. Although I don't think that in and of itself is an unoriginal concept for music in general, but hip hop, I think specifically, people will bite flows all the time. People will be stealing, beats or making songs that sound very close to other songs. I mean, Billy Ray Cyrus culture vultured Lil Nas X,
certainly
in a sense. Yeah, and I mean, it's just kind of part of the game at some point. So it's kind of like, at what point does this become egregious where someone needs to be called out for it?
Right, and I think he's an opportunist when it comes to his career, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like, on the other hand, when he has Big Frida on Nice for What, you're putting a big spotlight on a genre that hasn't been very mainstream.
True.
On the other hand, as you're saying, when you bite XXXTentacion's Look At Me flow on KMT off More Life, it stands out. And you're also supposed to be Drake, so you don't need to take the flow from the 19-year-old kid in jail at the time,
Right.
So, again, I think it case by case for me with Drake, and he's certainly an opportunist. And like stuff like Hotline Bling, shady. Obviously, he never credited Dram at all, which I think is fucked up. But other stuff, like when he supports younger artists, I don't think that's an issue. But it'll probably come up again, because as you mentioned, Drake's always in the news for stuff like this, whether it's legitimate or not.
Always in the news for stuff like this. Leave your thoughts. If you think Drake is a culture vulture or not below. We'd like to get into these sort of discussions with our fans, especially around these sort of topics. Why don't we pick out who Drake is going to be stealing his next cultural things from? Because XXL Freshman, which we talk about every year, is going to be dropping soon. And we did a prediction video 3 months ago, I believe.
I want to say it was December.
It might have been 4 months now. And we made some predictions. Some things have changed. Some things have not changed. Who do you got in your XXL freshman list? I have a couple of names I want to throw out as people that I think deserve to be on it. I think we mentioned them, but then probably people that might not accept it. So, YBN Corday, I think he'll be on it.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is YBN Corday didn't do a pitch video for XXL on their YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Most other people we'll talk about did, which I thought was kind of interesting because Corday has always been someone who's shown a lot of respect and admiration for rap of the past, something that's not often common with his peers, other rappers his age. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Corday has the Dr. Draco sign. No one else we're going to talk about has that. Corday has songs like Target and Kung Fu, just incredible lyrical displays of just pure technical ability that are also really smart. And he only just busted on the scene last year with the 1985 response to J. Cole, Old Hitters, right? And he doesn't actually have a solo project yet. But despite that, I feel like his star's so big. And that song, Have Mercy, it's only like a few months old. I think it's another hot song. So yeah, I think Corday is probably the best pure rapper, probably who has the, like, if you want to say someone who could probably drop a classic album one day on this list, he's probably that guy if it was to happen. So yeah, I really hope he says yes, just because he could still be a lot bigger. You know, he doesn't have any huge Billboard hits. So I think XXL shining a light on him is a positive thing, and it should happen, even though he doesn't necessarily need his cosign.
It seems like you feel like he's a shoo-in to get it, and the only way he wouldn't is if he didn't want to be on the cover.
Right. And again, I really, it's weird for someone to turn it down who doesn't have a lot of mainstream attention already. Like in the past, like when we talked about the 2018 list, Cardi B was not selected. 2017, you can check our video on youtube.com/NowstalgiaPod. I didn't think Cardi B was ready. I don't think she had the records yet. In between covers, Bodak Yellow comes out, and she becomes this massive megastar. She's a little big for double XL the next time the cover comes around, so she's just not on, just the way it worked. That happened with a lot of people. Drake happened with A$AP Rocky, people like that. But this year, I think that's actually going to happen with Juice WRLD, I think. Lil Baby, Gunna. Artists that were just on the cusp last year, but were just kind of rising as we were having these conversations, so it was just kind of early. Since then, I mean, Lil Baby and Gunna, they sold 100K first week for Drip Harder. And we know how big Juice WRLD is. We reviewed Death Race for Love. And again, these are already guys that are stars. They technically should be the faces of this new class, but they're probably too big and they'll probably say no.
So I had Juice WRLD as someone that I thought would definitely be worthy of it, but also might not say yes. Someone that probably would have been on it, YNW Melly, but I think with the controversy, no way he's making it.
Yeah, they've only ever put someone on the cover who was in jail once before. That was a while ago. It was Chief Keef, and he was like the fan vote choice. But yeah, Melly would have been on because Murder on My Mind was already huge and well liked even before it blew up once he went to jail, right? And I mean, news came out actually today that Florida also has murder on its mind and is seeking the death penalty with Melly. But
crazy,
yeah, they've in the past few years they've kind of separated themselves from anyone with controversy. So like last year, no 6ix9ine, no Famous Dex, no NBA Youngboy. This year, no YNW Melly because he's literally in jail right now. And also, I don't think Sheck West will actually make the cover now. Obviously, when we talked about him in December, like Mo Bamba, Mudboy, Cactus Jack co-sign, all that, chewing, new star. But the stuff with Justine Skye, allegations of abuse, stuff like that, even if it's just allegations, Double XL picks someone else, and there's always worthy choices. So I think Sheck West and Melly would have been on here if they didn't have their issues.
So, someone I really want to make is Tierra Whack. First of all, I loved her pitch video, just her eating chips for a full minute and then saying done and walks off. She's amazing. We really enjoyed her album last year and have really also enjoyed her singles. I think her single, what was the name of it?
Only Child?
Yes, is on our playlist. So check that out. But I have a feeling she's going to make it, and Saweetie as well. I think they'll be the two female names on there.
That's the thing. The past few years has been 10 names. I actually have 3 ladies on it this year. And usually there's maybe one. Like last year we had Stefflon Don, 2017 and 2017 we had Kamaya, 2016 we had no ladies. But there's a lot of good options this year.
Who are your 3?
So you mentioned Tier Whack and Saweetie. I think Tier Whack, as you mentioned, I said Whack World was critically acclaimed last year. She's out of Philly. Meek has given her a big cosign, but also she's really good and she's also really interesting because Whack World was, if you're not familiar, again, it wasn't a huge populist album, but 15 tracks, 15 minutes long, yet still really dense and worthy of repeat listens. Like really impressive for a new rapper, right? And these new singles show that, oh yeah, she also can make good songs that are of normal length. So really exciting. Saweetie, we just reviewed her Icy EP. That was her second EP. Blew up from Icy Girl. Saweetie's just really established now in terms of like mainstream rap, dating Quavo, represents the Bay, yet really kind of, in my opinion, feels like an Atlanta choice these days just because she seems like really mainstream establishment rap right now. But she's just really big and still new enough really new, honestly. Again, just 2 EPs. So I think she's a good choice. And then my third one, Rico Nasty. Rico Nasty has a shit ton of music out. She has like 4 mixtapes on streaming, 6 total. She's signed to Atlantic. Only 21 years old though. And really cool songs. She works with Kenny Beats a lot. Just fucking banger after banger. I think she's awesome. And she did a pitch video this year, which gave me hope that XXL is actually considering her. So I think she's going to make it. I think she's has one of the best body of works out of this whole group, and will be kind of a shame to ignore her. So yeah, I really hope all 3 of them got on there because they kind of represent 3 different lanes that happen to be occupied by women. And that's good because there's a lot of women in rap right now. We should actually acknowledge them more than just a token choice every year, you know?
I agree, definitely. And we review a lot of female rap artists on this show. A couple of names. Rich Brian, I feel like, will be on there. I think he'd be a solid choice. I think we mentioned him in the last one.
We did.
So, Blueface. I know you like Blueface. Blueface pretty controversial, maybe is the right word. I don't know. People, controversial about it, but people seem to be very split in terms of their opinion on him. Either people really, really like him or think he's absolute trash.
That's exactly right. Blueface, the people that think he sucks just think he can't rap on beat ever, and thus think he's just
important part of rapping.
Correct. The thing is, I think some Blueface songs are kind of offbeat. The funny thing is the way he puts it. He's like, I just rap ahead of the beat. I'm too quick, and he's really funny as a personality. And the blow up happened I think last fall when he had Famous Crip and These 2 tapes come out, and Dead Lokes got really big. And Tatiana was on one of those tapes, and it's weird. I didn't think Tatiana would be the hit. Obviously, we know it's 8. It was 8 in the country at its peak. I believe it's the biggest song out of anyone we're talking about. Certified hit, and then hella remixes, Cardi B, YG, etc. Song like Studio comes out, he's kind of singing on that. I think that song's kind of polarizing. I really like it. Some people think it sucks. Then Bleed It. I think Bleed It's the song, though, that you have to look at if you're critiquing Blueface. It's a Cole Bennett video for this. And Bleed It is a really competent rap song. He is on beat. He's using different rhyme schemes that he wasn't using back when Thadia and Dead Lokes came out. And looking at that, looking at the feature he does, or co-song he does with G-Eazy, West Coast, and you can see the blueprint for Blueface being a star in rap. He's already kind of a star right now. He's pretty big, but I think you can clearly see the path that Blueface is going to be a multi-genre hip-hop guy who's not going to just focus on doing one thing. And yes, if the lyrics get a little repetitive, and once in a while he's actually not really using the beat well, I think that's okay, because he's making hit songs and they're different kinds of hits. I kind of find that very exciting. And he's also just a goofy dude. Like he's a former quarterback. Kind of cool. It's like Quavo in that regard.
Quarterback where?
I don't know. He was a really good quarterback. He had college offers. He's from Compton or South Central LA anyway. And I think Blueface is definitely going to be on here because Whack 100, who's like his manager for Cash Money West, has been playing this perfectly. They've been delaying the singles. He made a song with G-Eazy, so get the white girls. Like, they're playing this really smart. So Blueface is going to be the face of this cover, whether you like it or not.
Well, I think they'll be very exciting to some people and very not exciting to others. Lil Nas X, I mean, most streamed song ever. Is he going to make it on? I mean, damn, that would be crazy because does he even have a real project out right now?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I made my list of 10. I didn't have Lil Nas X on. Lil Nas X is bigger, I guess, than basically everyone else on my list. He has, I think, 2 mixtapes or 1 mixtape, but they're not officially on streaming. He's just started to put some songs on Spotify, and streaming service like legitimized some of those songs. But as far as you can tell, as far as most people are concerned who listen to Old Town Road, which again is most of the music listening public at this point, he doesn't have any hip hop songs that you've heard. And I just have a hard time putting Lil Nas X on the cover because Old Town Road isn't rap by any stretch. It is country trap. It's hip hop infused country, but I find it's country music. He just recently was talking about this song he has in the bag with Ryan Tedder that he says, can we get this on the rock chart? So I don't know how interested he is in hip hop. Like Juice WRLD, people are like, oh, Juice WRLD, man, this is emo music. He's not in hip hop. He's using Chief Keef flows on some of these songs. Juice WRLD's still hip hop. Lil Nas X, until he actually releases some like rap songs anyone's heard, I don't know if we should call him a rap artist. Again, that's no shot against him, but I just have a hard time picking him over people like Rico Nasty, who've been grinding for 4 years making tons of rap.
Mm-hmm. So I'm out of names at this point. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for knowing this many of these artists this year. Anyone else that you think is definitely going to make it or that we didn't talk about you want to shout out?
Yeah, I got a few more. Got to get to 10 still. I think the biggest one left is Roddy Ricch. Roddy Ricch blew up last year with Feed the Streets 2, his second tape. Every Season was on there, but also Die Young, his now gold single, really blew up when Odell Beckham posted that on the gram. And since then, Roddy Ricch has been rising quick. He has that song Project Dreams with Marshmello. For example. Yep. He has the feature, he does the hook on Racks in the Middle, the Nipsey Hussle song, that loose Nipsey song that dropped a few months ago. It has since been the Rap Caviar placement in the RIP Nip Times right now. But I think Roddy Ricch, he's only 20 years old. He's also from LA, like Blueface. He kind of represents that singy new standard of sorts that we come to expect from your Futures and your A-Boogies. But he has some legitimate hits already, and like these are like really bubbling big songs. So he's someone I expect to continue to grow. And I mean, the fact that he already has a song with Marshmello, the most radio-friendly, big stream EDM choice you can pick right now, I think kind of says a lot to what the other labels think of him. So I think Roddy Ricch is kind of a shoe-in. Blueface and him are the true faces of this cover, I would say, in terms of just popularity. Obviously, Corday, as we said before, is probably the best pure artist on here. After Roddy Ricch, I think, so we have Blueface, Roddy Ricch, YB and Corday, Tierra Whack, Saweetie, Rico Nasty. That's 6. Maybe Lil Nas X is on there. That's 7. So we still need a few more. I'm going to go with Lil TJ. He's only 18. He's from New York. People pejoratively call him B Boogie because he's another New York artist that sounds like A Boogie because they do the same kind of singy thing. Okay. But he's been kind of blowing up with Brothers resume. He's got some few songs. He signed to Columbia. And I think, will he be as big as A Boogie? Probably not, because that's actually a very high bar now. I mean, his album was like the number 1 album in the row the first 3 weeks of January because it was the most streamed album and no one released anything new. Like A Boogie is like legitimately huge. So I don't know if Lil TJ can ever truly take that crown from him in terms of New York, but he's making like music well that is the type of rap that people want right now. So I think he's going to continue to rise. He was just featured on that French Montana song with Blueface that just came out a few days ago. After that, someone who has, I think, even more chart hits, Da Baby. He's actually one of the older guys on this choice. He's 27 already. But Baby on Baby, which was his major label debut for Interscope, came out a few months ago. Going Baby, Shug. There's some hits on there, and I think he's one of those guys who has a lot of mixtapes out, and it's like been grinding for a while. So you reward him for breaking through both commercially and in terms of just more popularity. On that same lane, as he did a pitch video, it's kind of surprising for me. Boogie, we just reviewed his album, Everybody Dies, a few months ago. Yeah. Boogie's 29. He'll be 30 this year. He's like right on the edge where it's like, I've known about Boogie a long time. Would I still consider him a freshman? Like, he's been signed to Eminem for several years now.
Like, yeah, when I saw him on the pitch videos, I was like, is this the same guy? I thought maybe it was my name, but I don't know, interesting if he does get it, I suppose.
I mean, other than that, I mentioned Little Mosey when we did our video a few months ago. Notice was a big song. He's on Interscope. He's only 17, so if you want to make him wait a little longer, that's fine with me. Again, he's not the most lyrical guy, so it's not like an inspired choice, I guess, But after that, I think Flip Dinero, Leave Me Alone, also got an OBJ co-sign. That song got the 20th. Like, that song was really big. He's also from New York. He's only 23. But he only has, I think, one tape from a few years ago. So if he drops something this year, I mean, they've probably already made selections by now, but I feel like he's kind of just on the cusp in terms of having that really popular song at the right time. Yet he might still be just a little farther off. But I mean, I have a list of a whole other names that are in the conversation. It's funny, all the people we've talked about. This is the first time in several years where no one from Florida is going to make the list. Melly would have kept it going, but he's not on it. So it's funny. We might have 3 women on here. We might have multiple New Yorkers on here. I mean, and no Floridians. It's kind of cool to see all these different places being represented. Other people I'm considering are usually in the mix: Danny Lee, Melly, Megan Thee Stallion. These other women that are really killing it, so they're all in the mix. We mentioned Comethazine because we reviewed his Bosky 2 tape a few months ago. I don't think Comethazine is near good enough or interesting enough to get this kind of look, considering how many options there are. Yeah. One of the people who did a pitch video, I don't know if you recognize it, was Partisan Fontaine. He's actually from like right across the river from in Newburgh, but he had his first really big hit song, Backing It Up, recently because it has a Cardi B feature. But he was more well known for being Cardi's longtime friend and writing partner. And like, he hasn't dropped the tape since he got more famous as Cardi got famous. So it's kind of weird to see him do a pitch because I feel like, yes, he's a little older, but you also still haven't really established yourself as a solo artist. And Backing It Up was big because Cardi's verse was fire. So interesting to see. Also, I noticed on the pitch videos, OGZ was on there. He's the frontman, most popular guy from Shoreline Mafia, the West Coast group. And traditionally, Double XL has not done groups. Like Quavo never made this. Kevin Abstract never made this. Sway Lee, etc. Like, they don't do duos or groups. It's because of the way they have to shoot the cover. It's like a logistical thing, right? So the fact that OGZ, a guy who doesn't have solo projects, he just has his Shoreline stuff. The fact that they actually let him do a pitch is kind of weird. They might be changing their standards. You mentioned Rich Brian. I would love Rich Brian to be on here just like last year, but he didn't do a pitch. It's weird. I don't know why they're not picking him, because Rich Brian really had a great year last year. Both Amen and then the 88 Rising collab. I'm kind of taken aback. I mean, they've actually never picked an Asian artist. Kid Trunks brings this up in his pitch, and I think Kid Trunks, we can kind of leave him there. But Rich Brian is good, really good, and interesting and different. And the fact that you are making history by your own decisions, I don't know. I mean, I have other people, but I think no one else is really truly in the mix. Bad Baby did a video. Like, they're not.
I was wondering about that.
But it's funny. She knows exactly what to talk about. She's like, I have 3 gold singles, and it's true. She does. But does anyone care?
She's the one that was on Dr. Phil, right? And
Yes.
propelled that to fame.
Yep. And to her credit, I think Gucci Flops is a hot song. She didn't write it, obviously, but I actually I kind of like it. But yeah, she's also really young. You can just tell her to keep waiting. I don't know. I mean,
any last thoughts on XXL?
070 Shake, you mentioned her a few months ago and did our video.
She's not going to get it.
Nah, I don't. She's really not rap. Anyway.
Yeah. Nah, it's actually funny when you said that she dropped some songs, and the first person I thought of was Zachary, which or Zakari, however you pronounce it. I was like, they're kind of the same to me. Like right now, I need 070 to drop something that distinguishes herself. So
gotcha. I'm with you.
Why don't we wrap up with some Endgame talk, because this weekend, this Thursday, we're all in the Endgame finally. And the end game is going to take a long time to get there. It's going to be 3 hours long. And a lot of characters are maybe going to die. I'm mostly just excited to see Ant-Man save the day by crawling up Thanos' butthole and then expanding, which supposedly is how it ends. Sorry to spoil it all for all of you.
It has leaked, and we have watched it. So
yeah, we have our own copy. If you're listening to this, I apologize for ruining Endgame for you. But really, I mean, why don't we just talk quickly about expectations? Maybe go through a couple of people that we think might not make it out, people that we think will, and maybe any theories we want to throw out there just to get on the record. Where are you at temperature-wise going into Endgame?
Yeah, the thing is, it actually did leak, legitimately.
Yeah.
My question is, who would watch that? Like, why do you want to watch a shitty version of the movie on your laptop when you're about to see this on a huge screen and just be blown away visually, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Weird that people actually would do that. Like, yes, some people I know really, really care about what happens in this plot and all that, but baffling. Yeah, I really don't understand it.
I think for people, it's just the anticipation has gotten to a point where they just want to know. You know, same thing with Thrones. We just want to know what goes on. But I agree. If you truly care about the movie, you have a little bit of self-control, just a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I think in terms of expectations, what this movie needs to do to be successful, and we're talking successful critically as a wrapping of as a story. Obviously, we know financially it'll be successful. I will say right now, it will not make $300 million opening weekend. Relax, everyone. The movie's 3 hours long. That hurts the amount of times you can show it a day. Also, that's a really high mark to hit here in the States. I think we'll probably set the new record, which Infinity War had just set last year. Maybe 265, 270, something, but we're not hitting 300. That's ridiculous. Also, it's people were like, oh, it'll break the Force Awakens record here in the States, which is like 936 million here in the US. The number 2 movie is Black Panther, which is 700, aka 200 plus million behind Force Awakens. I just think that's completely unrealistic for Infinity War to hit that mark. But in terms of what it needs to actually do to be like a movie that we actually are happy pan out the way it is, I think it's weird because we know the snap's going to be undone because we know Black Panther 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man are all happening. So the fact that that's spoiled for most people with adult brains, like I'm sure a lot of kids will have their minds blown, and I'm really happy for them. Like, that'll be really cool. We all know that it's getting undone. We've known it for a year. So how do you undo it in such a way that it's satisfying, right? Because I'm not worried, but I've been concerned trolling in my head. I don't know. I've been thinking like, I mean, how do you do it so that Infinity War holds up, you know, through hindsight? Like, I think Infinity War is really well made. It's the best of the team up movies they've done. But part of that is the anticipation and the build up and like what happens to Gamora and all that. If we just take literally everything away in Endgame, I don't know. I don't think it's cheap, but I just feel like you might really cut the legs off Infinity War in the process. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. You need to do it in a way that doesn't make it feel cheap. I think Loki and Gamora, I think those deaths that happen pre-snap are not going to be undone. Those sort of things are written in blood at this point. What I think they need to do in order to really like land the ship, so to speak, is and to not make Infinity War feel totally like a waste of time, is to use this opportunity to, they're bringing Captain Marvel, but to take the original Avengers plus Rocket and to really set them on an adventure, and Ant-Man, to really have an adventure that I think drives home some message that they've been probably trying to get at throughout the course of this third phase of teamwork partnership. I mean, you've had Captain America versus Iron Man kind of at different ends, and somewhere in here they're going, one of them is going to have to, or both are going to have to compromise on different things in order to work together. And that's really the thing, is you just want to see these characters have a final journey together that feels satisfying. And I think they have enough that people are going to go crazy for, regardless of that. It's going to be hard for them to miss. I think the only way they could truly miss is if they send Ant-Man up Thanos' butthole and have him expand in order to defeat him, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah. One other thing is, like, the quantum realm is cool, explored a fair amount in the two Ant-Man movies, yet still kind of nebulous. We don't really understand it. If that is all it takes, you know what I mean? Like, if it's just Ant-Man and Captain Marvel combine their powers, and we know how strong Captain Marvel is, and they just kind of are able to brute force it somehow through the powers of interdimensional travel. I don't know. I just want it done in a satisfying way, even if we can kind of guess the broad strokes of it. But I think you're right. You have to nail the final narrative beats, because we all expect this to be the final film for Chris Evans, Captain America, and Tony Stark's Iron Man. Whether they both die, technically, is a different story, but this is definitely done. I think we know Chris Evans is fucking done with this.
Although he recently said, like, I might be open to it. Like, he left the door open. It's like,
yeah,
bro,
I think
commit.
he's just
you
doing
don't want
that
to do it
for press purposes, personally.
Yeah, I agree.
But, I mean, the thing is, Robert Downey Jr. is paid substantially more than anyone else. So I could see him be like, you know what? Let Tony truly walk away and go be with Pepper. Done. He's done with everything. But if he ever wants to come back because RDJ wants that check, it's open.
Yeah.
But I think Evans is very content to just truly leave it behind, pass the mantle, quote unquote, off to Bucky and Falcon, I guess.
Right.
But the other thing too is, we know about all these Disney Plus shows that Marvel Studios is making, right? Loki, WandaVision, Hawkeye, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Does that spoil stuff? Like, we know the Black Widow movie is happening. That's the first one that's going into production this year. That's the next one we'll see, assumingly. Black Widow, at least we could think of, could take place in the past when she was a Russian agent, Soviet agent, right? But are we gonna have a Loki show way back when Loki was a true dick and Thor had long hair still? Like, isn't that just really confusing to your audience? I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, who is really gonna go? Like, I feel, again, Tony and Rogers are gonna walk away or die. Who else, though? Will they kill Thor as well? Because I feel like Thor needs his own moment, and I feel like we're not too much of a focus on Stark and Rogers that we can't also kill Thor,
Yeah, I would be surprised if they killed Thor, especially just because Hemsworth has been such a revelation. Also, one quick thing, shout out to, I'm forgetting his name right now, but Taika Waititi's character from Ragnarok, is going to be in this, which I'm very excited for. Sorry if I spoiled anything there for you, but I just read that he's going to be in it in some way. So that seems very fun to me. Maybe it's just like a flashback of some sort. I don't know, but I'm also, I don't think that you can kill Thor off, only because I think you do need to have some of the old guard there to pass on. I mean, from the posters, it seems like Hulk is going to reach Professor Hulk level, which is pretty interesting. I don't know. Captain Marvel and Ant-Man, I don't think are going anywhere. Maybe
Captain
Paul
Marvel
Rudd
certainly isn't, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, is there another Ant-Man movie on? Maybe Paul Rudd sacrifices himself?
There isn't one that we know of. Like, we're going to do a Phase 4 predictions discussion video after Endgame comes out, but we don't know anything about another Ant-Man movie. The Ant-Man movies are some of the lower grossing MCU entries. I don't know. Like, they have to kill some side guys, right? But
You think, but
Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, and Vision are all spoken for now. Bucky, we know Stan still has a lot of movies on his contract. You feel like Stan's finally going to get his chance to be Bucky in a post-Steve Rogers world, at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
Another thing is, like, we'll talk about this in our Phase 4 video, but I don't know if they're going to strictly have just a brand new Avengers team the way we've been accustomed to. So they might need like some of the older guys like Thor, like you said, but just some more disparate groups. I don't know, but like, are they going to kill Gamora for sure? You think? We know Guardians 3 is happening. I don't have a problem with that. I thought that was really effective. But will they kill anyone else? It's just weird. Like, I just feel like there's a strange amount of plot armor, which I wasn't expecting until I really started thinking about it.
Yeah, I think one of the Avengers is definitely, or one of the Guardians is not going to be coming back for sure. And I think at this point, Gamora has to be. I mean, I don't know. The Red Skull is in this movie. So
he is? They said that again?
Yeah, apparently, but it's not the same guy, or it might be. I'm trying to remember, but I do know that he's in this movie.
Huh.
So that means they're at least going to show that scene again, if not go back there. So then, do they bring her back to life? Is that when Stark or Captain America has to sacrifice something? I don't know. It's a lot to think about it, just because when you get down to like who actually dies in this, it's like, man, like maybe Nick Fury, like maybe Samuel Jackson's just done.
That's a good one.
Like, Black Panther, Doctor Strange isn't going anywhere. Maybe
Nebula, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, when you think about the Guardians, I mean, Rocket is the only one I think that maybe. Other than Gamora could possibly go, because Groot ain't going nowhere. Like, I'm telling you that much. He's very popular. Hawkeye as Ronin. I mean, I don't know. Not with the show, probably.
Unless that show takes place a few years ago. He trains Kate Bishop and then he dies when we see. I don't know. But like,
could be.
Think about the Guardians too. Is remember all the actors came out in support of James Gunn. And that includes like Karen Gillan, that includes Saldana. So I think they were genuinely doing that anyway, but it did kind of have the vibe of we're all signed on for Guardians 3 and we want it to be with James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, yeah, I'm Cap and Tony. One dies, one walks away is what I'm going with. Other than that, I'm not confident in predicting anything. Ant-Man, though, I think that's an underrated choice. And Nick Fury, I think, actually makes a lot of sense.
Maybe as Ant-Man is crawling up Thanos' butthole, Thanos realizes it and clenches really hard and just pops it. Maybe that's like the first act. I don't know.
Some crazy CGI.
Yeah. Any surprises or anything that you want to call it? Maybe like surprise appearances or people that will show up that you don't expect right now?
I hope we see Valkyrie again from Thor Ragnarok, just because I love Tessa Thompson.
Hell yeah.
They said Shuri died in the snap.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see Shuri again because Tisha Wright's awesome.
Yeah,
in the role. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get everything. I think it seems. I mean, the movie's so fucking long, dude.
3 hours. You better get everything.
It's cool how the trailer lays so much into the whole leftovers vibe that they have in the beginning when they're halfway there. There's been some really good jokes about that. Like, hey, you want to go see Hall? Wait, Hall and oh right,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't wait to see it. I'm seeing it Sunday, so I'm going to probably be off Twitter starting Thursday evening. Yeah. But overall, just really, really excited for this. We'll be talking a lot about that next week, as well as Battle of Winterfell, and probably a couple of music albums. So if you want to hit us up and tell us what to review, soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod, youtube.com/nostalgiapod, and Nowstalgia on iTunes. Give us that 5-star rating and review. Anything else that we're going to be reviewing next week? I think I've pretty much named them all.
Yep. Schoolboy Q, Crash Talk album.
There you go.
And whatever Taylor Swift has up her sleeve, we don't actually know. It's probably just a single. I don't think it's a full project or anything, but yeah. Endgame, Schoolboy Q, Battle of Winterfell. That's your homework.
All right. We'll see you all next week.